Yes, Karine, on gun violence, it's very clear to everybody that gun is a problem in this country. I'm gonna give you an example. In Africa, when we see news from the US, like a 6-year-old boy bringing gun to school, and we see people going to the movie theater being killed by gun, and also seeing people in this country that have not seen war but are killed by gun is extremely scary for us. And we have seen that this country is very developed. What do you think is preventing the Congress to act when it comes to gun control? And what can more President Biden do to move on and do something to control the gun? And my question comes because I'm a mother. I have 2 daughters, and when they go to school, sometimes I'm afraid that maybe his little colleague from school will bring a gun, or even in random place, we get shot. This is very, very scary, and this is a problem, and we saw recently people also dying by gun. What can President do more to move on and control the guns? And please, what do you think the Congress is waiting to act?
So when it relates to the Congress, you have to ask Congress. You have to go over to Congress and meet with congressional members and ask them that very question. Lay it out just the way that you laid it out to me. I think it's an important question for them to answer. But also, we saw last night Senator Feinstein, along with Senators Murphy and Blumenthal, reintroduce the assault weapons ban, which we support. And we encourage for Congress to act on that piece of legislation. Look, again, I would suggest you go talk to them about this. Look, you just laid out what I just said, right? You just laid out about going to the movie theaters and being worried about gun violence. You just laid out about being a parent and worrying about your child going to school, or going to the grocery store and worried about gun violence. That is something that we should not have to deal with. And this is something, again, if you look at the president's record as a senator, you look at his first 2 years as president, he's dealt with this issue. And he's going to continue to do what he can from here, use the tools of the federal government to take action. He has taken historic executive actions, as I just laid out moments ago. But when it comes to really, truly dealing with this issue, we need legislation. We need legislation. We need Congress to act. So we are thankful and we are hopeful to see what occurred with this legislation that was introduced, again, by Senators Feinstein, Blumenthal, and Murphy. And we're going to continue to encourage Congress to act. But I would pose the question that you just asked me to Congress. Okay.
Just a follow-up quick, still on gun violence. We have spoke, like between me and some friends, that in this country, and this, I'm making this point because we need to remind people that America is the only country on earth that people die by gun without even being in war. Because I'm giving this example because in Africa there is countries in war, but people doesn't even have access to gun. It's very hard because the government and everybody is very conscious that the guns can cause a lot of destruction. But in this country, it's very normal for everybody to have access to gun, and this needs to be controlled. But what can people like me, common people, what can we do to help control gun in this country?
Well, look, what I can speak to, there are many ways that people can get involved in dealing with the gun violence that we're seeing here. I'm not going to make any suggestions, but there are ways that folks can go out there and participate in a way that's healthy, in the way that actually helps deal with a real issue. What I can speak to is what the president has done. What I can speak to is what the president believes. What I can speak to is the president's record on this, which is, you can see for yourself as a senator, this last 2 years as president and the executive actions that he's taken. He signed a bipartisan piece of legislation, as I just mentioned moments ago, to deal with, in taking one step to deal with gun violence. And so, look, that's what I can speak to. That's what we can talk about very clearly. And we are going to continue to discuss and have the conversation and call on Congress to act. All right, go ahead.
Thanks, Karine. We heard you talk about the statements that President Biden put out, but why haven't we heard the president address the American people on camera about these recent shootings?
He's taken, which one?
About the shootings that have happened recently.
Yeah, I mean, he He's talked about it many times, as you know, and I'm sure you'll hear from him in the upcoming days to talk about what he has seen and how devastating the gun violence, especially this week, has been. And look, you've seen him, as I mentioned, in Uvalde, when he was comforting the parents of the kids who were murdered. You saw him in Buffalo when he was, again, comforting families who saw their family member murdered. And it's been too many. And so you'll continue to hear from us. I think when the president puts out a statement, that is a very powerful action by the president. You all take it. You all repeat what the president has said. So I would take that as a serious communication from the president, as you all already do. And he'll continue to speak out about it.
And have you spoken with the president about the most recent report that more documents were found at his home personally?
No, I have not.
Why didn't Biden
that
tell you for 2
intentional?
months about the documents?